Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the questions at the end of the chapter. Some of these questions may be different than what's in your actual textbook or what's in your Connect activities because of different versions and or algorithmic types of questions that are not static. So, but the types of the problems are the same. On the drill problems and the summary practice test, we'll begin with the Chapter 6 activities. First set of questions on numbers 1 through 6. We're going to convert the following decimals to percents, D to P, alphabetically. So you'll move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So that'll make number 1, 96%. Okay, that's a little large there. Okay. And then number 2, move that decimal point 2 places to the right to make it 25.9%. Number 3, move the decimal place 2 places to the right to make it 40%. Number 4, 2 places right to make it 800%. Number 5, 2 places to the right to make it 356.1%. And number 6, 600.6%. Okay, number 7, convert the following percents to decimal. So if we have a decimal point, we'll move our decimal point 2 places to the left. If there is no decimal, then we'll start at the percent sign because it's a whole number then, and then move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So we'll start with the percent sign here, move the decimal point 2 places to the left to make it a decimal of 4/100ths. Number 8 is 14%. That'll turn into 0.14 or 1400ths. And then number 9 is 64 3/10%. That actually reads, if you actually convert that to a decimal percent, is 64.3%. And then we'll move the decimal point 2 places to the left to make it a decimal, which equals 0.643 or 643 thousandths. Okay, number 10, move the decimal point 2 places left to make it 0.759. And then 1.19 on number 11 percent. I'm sorry, it's not a percent, it's a decimal. And then number 12, 2 places left to make it 0.89 or 8900ths. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at numbers 13 through 16. On numbers 13 through 16, we're going to convert the following fractions to percents and round to the nearest 10th percent as needed. So all we have to do here is convert the fraction to a decimal first. That'd be the first step to go to a decimal. So we'll enter on the calculator 1 divided by 12, which is equal to, okay, change that. And okay, so 1 divided by 12 on your calculator is equal to the decimal of 0.0833. And now it's a decimal, and we want to go from a decimal to a percent, D to P. So we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which equals 8.3%, actually 8.33, and then to the nearest tenth of a percent equals 8.3%. Okay, number 14. 1 divided by 400 is equal to, on the calculator, 0.0025. To go from a decimal to percent, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is equal to 0.24. And I'm sorry, that's not correct. I don't know where I got those numbers at. Let me erase that. Okay, number 14 is equal to 0.0025. move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is equal to 0.25, and we're going to round it to the nearest tenth percent. So we look at the 10th location, which is right there. Look one place to the right. Is it 5 or greater? Yes. So that equals 0.3%. And then 7/8. 7 divided by 8 is equal to 0.875. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is 87.5%. And then 11 divided by 12 is equal to 0.9166. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is 91.66. We're going to round to the nearest 10th percent. There's a 10th percent right there, and we're going to look one place to the right, which is 5 or greater. So we're going to round that to 91.7%. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the next group, number 17. And we're going to convert the following percents to fractions and reduce down to lowest terms. So on number 14, we have 4%, which is the same as 4 over 1 times 1/100th. Okay, 4 will go into itself one time, and 4 into 100 will go 25 times. So that's going to equal 4/25, reduced down to lowest terms. Oh, 4 will go into itself one time, I'm sorry. There we go. Let's try 1/25. 1/25. Okay, number 18, we're going to convert the mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So 18 times 2 is 36 plus 1 is equal to 37 over 2 times 1/100th. That'll equal 37 over 200. And that's reduced down to lowest terms. Number 19 is 31 2/3. Let's convert that to a mixed number, which is 95 over 3 times 1/100th. And that will equal 95 over 300. And I did not see that I could cancel that, but apparently I can because it ends with 5 and 0. So 5 will go into the numerator 19 times, and 5 will go into the denominator of 360 times. Okay? Then number 20, convert that mixed number to an improper fraction. So that's 122. 123. 61 times 2 is 122, plus 1 is 123, over 2, over the like denominator of 2, times 1/100th. And that's going to equal 123 times 1 is 123 over 200. And number 21 is 6.75. I'm going to convert that to a mixed number of 6 3/4. I did that because if you look at the 75 right here, 0.75, that's in the hundredths location. And then I reduce that down to 3/4. So 75 over 100 is 3/4. So it's the same as 6 3/4. Then convert that to an improper fraction. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 is 27 over 4 times 1/100th equals 27 over 400. Okay, and then number 22, 182% over 1 times 1/100th equals 182 over 100. We have an improper fraction, convert that to a mixed number, and that equals 1 and 41/50. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next question, beginning with number 23. Okay, solve for the portion. Okay, I'm going to put this little symbol over here on the right-hand side. Okay, remember that the part is in the point, the base is in the bottom, and the rate is in the right. This horizontal line represents division, and this vertical line represents multiply. Okay, in solving for part, base, and rate, or portion for part, this would be, we know that the percent is associated with rate, and we know the number that follows percent of is your base. So we're looking 7% of 150 equals something where the part is remaining. So the part is equal to base times rate. Look at your symbol over here on the right. If you cover up the part, then it's base times rate. So it's 150 times 0.07. And that will equal 10.5. Okay, number 24. We know that the percent sign is associated with the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. So again, we're solving for the part. Part is equal to base times rate, according to the symbol. So the base is 4320 times 1.25 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that is going to equal 5,400. Okay, number 25. 25% is a rate because it's associated with the percent sign. The number that follows percent of is your base. So again, we're solving for the part. Part is equal to base times rate. So the base is 410 times 0.25 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that will give you the portion of 102.5. Then number 26, the percent sign is associated with the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. Again, we're solving for the part, which is equal to base times rate of 128.9 times 1.19 after I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and then that will equal 153.39. And rounding to the nearest hundredth on these questions too. Then number 6, the number associated with the percent figure is the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. Again, we're solving for the part, which is equal to base times rate, and that's 900 times 0.174 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and then that's going to equal 156.6. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the next question, beginning with number 28. Okay, where did number 28 go? Did I miss it? Did I forget to copy that one? Okay, 623 through 27. Down to number 28. Okay, looks like I may have skipped number 28. I don't have that particular copy with me. Let's just see if I mislabeled them. 23 through 32. Oh, there's 28 right there. Okay, the number associated with the percent sign is the rate. And the number associated with the percent of is your base. So we're solving for the part again. Part is equal to base times rate, and that's 85 times 0.112 after I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and then that will give you 9.52. Okay, number 29. We have 12.5% of 919. The 12.5%, that's the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. We're solving for part, which is equal to base times rate. And technically that's $919. And we're going to multiply that times 12.5%. And to do that, before I actually come up with the actual figure right here, I'm going to put this over here to the side. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, so that's the same as 12.5. I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left, so that's 0.125, and that will equal 114.88. Number 30 is 45% is associated with the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. Again, we're solving for the part, which is equal to base times rate. So that's 300 times 0.45 after I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and then that's going to equal 135. Number 31, 18% is your rate associated with the percent sign. The number that's associated with the number that follows percent of is your base. So we'll be solving for the part, which is equal to base times rate. So that'd be 90 times 0.18 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that will equal 16.2. And then finally in this section is 30%, which is your rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. So again, we're solving for part, which is equal to base times rate. And so that would be 2,000 times 0.3 whenever I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that would equal 600. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next section, beginning with number 33. And this one we're solving for the base. Okay, so with our symbol, part is in the point, the base is in the bottom, and the rate is in the right. Again, if you're solving for the part, that's equal to base times rate. If you're solving the base, it's part divided by rate. If you're solving for the rate, it's part divided by base. Okay, so easy to identify the rate because it's associated with the percent sign. The number that follows percent of is your base, and the number associated with is or equal is your part. So base is equal to part divided by rate. So that's 170 divided by 1.2 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that will equal 141.67. Rounding to the nearest hundredth as needed. Okay, pay really close attention to this number 34. First of all, 0.75% or 75 hundredths of 1% is the rate because it's associated with the percent sign. The number that follows percent of is your base. Number associated with is or equal is your part. Again, you're solving for the base, that's equal to part divided by rate. The part is 36, and now the rate is going to be 0.0075 because the decimal is to the left of the 75, so I'm going to start there and move left to convert it to a decimal, which is 0.0075. And then that will equal 4,800. Okay, number 35. Another question very similar to that. We can easily identify the rate because of the number associated with the percent sign. So there's your rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. Number associated with is or equal is your part. So again, we're solving for the base, which is equal to part divided by rate. So that's 50 divided by 0.005 after I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that will equal 10,000. Okay, number 36. 90%, it's associated with a percent sign, so that will be the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. Number associated with is or equal is your part. Again, solving for the base, which is equal to part divided by rate. So that's 10,800 divided by 0.9 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. And that will equal 12,000. Okay, then finally number 37 in this section. 4.5% is associated with a rate because of the percent sign. The number that follows percent of is your base. The number associated with is or equal is your part. Again, we're solving for the base, which is equal to part divided by rate. So it's 800. And now that's going to be divided by, whenever you take 1 divided by 2, that's 0.5. Put that over here to the right. And then 4. So it's 4.5. I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left, which is 0.045. So 800 divided by 0.045, that's equal to $17,777.78. I said I use that a monetary amount. It's actually just a figure instead of a monetary amount. So 17,777 and 78 hundredths. Okay, let's go on to number 38. Okay. Okay, on number 38, I don't see the rate. There's no percent sign that's there. So now the number associated with is or equal is your part. The number that follows percent of is your base. And so we're going to be looking for the rate. So the rate is equal to your part divided by the base. So the part is 50 divided by 80. Okay, whenever you calculate this one, you are going to get a decimal value on your calculator of 0.625. To convert your decimal to a percent, move the decimal point 2 places to the right to equal 62.5%. Okay, number 39. The number associated with is or equal again is your part. The number that follows percent of is your base. Again, we're solving for the rate, which is equal to the part divided by the base. Okay, so the part is 92 divided by base of 85, and that's going to give you 1.082. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right to equal 108.2%. Okay, number 40, the number associated with is or equal is your part. The number that follows percent of is your base. We're going to solve for the rate again, which is part divided by base. So that's 65 divided by 250. And that's going to equal 0.26 on your calculator. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right to make it 26%. So 26% of 250 is 65. Number 41. The number associated with is or equal is your part. The number that follows percent of is your base. Again, we're solving for the rate. The rate is equal to part divided by base. So that's 110 divided by 100. And that's going to equal 1.110. Then we'll move the decimal point 2 places to the right to equal 110%. So 110 is 110% of 100. Number 42. Number associated with is or equal is your part. Number that follows percent of is your base. Rate is what we're going to be solving for. So again, rate is equal to part divided by your base. The part is 0.09 and the base is 2.25. So 0.09 divided by 2.25 is equal to 0.04. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right to establish it as a percent of 4%. So 9 hundredths is 4% of 2 and 25 hundredths. Then number 43. The number associated with is or equal is your part. The number that follows percent of is your base. We're going to be solving for the rate. Rate is equal to part divided by base. So the part is 16 divided by 4. And that's going to equal 4. Then move the decimal point 2 places to the right to equal 400%. So 16 is 400% of 4. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward with number 44. Okay, solve the following problems. Be sure to show your work and round to the nearest hundredth or hundredth percent as needed. So on number 44, 180%, since it's associated with the percent sign, I'm going to make that the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. So we're going to be solving for the part. Part is equal to base times rate. So that's 310 times 1.8 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left to make it a decimal for your calculator, and then 310 times 1.8 is equal to 558 for your part. So 558 is 180% of 310. Number 45. 66% of 90 is what? The number associated with the percent sign is the rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. The number associated with is or equal is your part. So again, we're going to be solving for part, which is equal to base times rate. So that's going to be 90 times 0.66 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. And that's going to equal 59.40 to make it to the nearest hundredth. Number 46, 40% is your rate. The number that follows percent of is your base. The number associated with is or equal is your part. So we're going to solve for the base, and the base is equal to part divided by rate. So the part is 20 divided by 0.4 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. And 20 divided by 0.4 is equal to 50. So 40% of 50 is 20. Number 47, 70% is the rate because it's associated with the percent sign. The number associated with is or equal is your part. The number that follows percent of is your base. So we're going to solve for the base again, which is part divided by rate. And 770 divided by 0.7 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left is equal to 1100. 770 is 70% of 1100. Okay, number 48. What percent? That is your rate. We'll be solving for it. The number associated with is or equal is your part. And the number that follows percent of is your base. So we're solving for the rate, which is equal to part divided by base. The part is 4. And the base is 90. So 4 divided by 90 is going to equal a decimal value of 0.04444 and so on. Just move the decimal point 2 places to the right to establish the decimal as a percent and make that 4.44%. Okay, then number 49. What percent? There's your rate right there. The number that follows percent of is your base. The number that's associated with is or equal is your part. So rate is what we're solving for, which is equal to part divided by base. Okay, the pen doesn't mark that far down. Okay, rate is equal to part divided by base. Part is 60 divided by 150, and that will equal 0.4. Since you want to convert that decimal to a percent, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is equal to 40%. So 40% of 150 is 60. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next question, number 50. Alrighty, let's see. We're going to be calculating for the amount of an increase or amount of decrease on these two problems right here, and then we'll be rounding it to the nearest 100th percent as needed. And 2013 is the year that we're comparing this to, so that's remember the base is something that in which you're comparing something to, so we're going to compare this to our base year of 2013. So we're going to take the difference between 2013 and 2014, and we're going to see a decrease for the Apple iPad. In 2013, it cost $650, and then it decreased to $500, so it dropped $150. Let me grab a pen, and I'll mark on this. Okay, so this is going to be our base year, the year that we're comparing it to, and we had a decrease of $150. And then, since I'm solving for the percent of increase or the percent of decrease, that means I'm solving for the rate. In this particular case, the rate is equal to part divided by base. And the part is the difference of 150, and the base is the base year, the year that we're comparing it to, which is 2013. So it's 150 divided by 650, and that's going to give us a percent of decrease of a decimal amount of 2308. I'll move the decimal point 2 places to the right to make it 23.08%. And that's a decrease, so I'm going to put a negative in front of it. Decrease of 23.08%. Okay, now for the smartphone. Our base year is 2013, and it went up in price for 2014. We're comparing it to 2013, so again, 2013 is your base, and we show that we have a $20 increase. And so we're solving for the rate to find out what our rate of increase is, which is equal to part divided by base. And the part, the amount of the increase is $20, divided by the base that it was originally in 2013 is 100. So 20 divided by 100 is 0.2. And then we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right to convert the decimal to a percent to make it 20%. And I don't need to put a sign in front of it to represent a positive since 20 is positive. So it's a 20% increase. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look maybe at a couple extra problems here. Okay, 52. At a local Dunkin' Donuts, a survey showed that out of 1,200 customers eating lunch, 240 of those customers ordered coffee with their meal. What percent of the customers ordered coffee? Okay, number one, the question is what percent? So I know I'm going to be solving for the rate. And rate is in the right, part is in the point, and base is in the bottom. If I cover up the rate, that's equal to part divided by base. So I know I'm going to be solving for the rate, and the total number of people shows that there's 1,200 customers. So 1,200 customers is going to be the base. The number to which I'm comparing this survey to is the 1,200. They're my base. Now 240, that portion of 1,200 customers, a portion of them ordered coffee with their meal. So that 240 is representative of the part. Well, rate is equal to part divided by base. And the part is 240. And the base is 1,200. So in the calculator, 240 divided by 1,200 is going to give me a decimal value of 0.2, and I'm going to move my decimal point 2 places to the right to give me 20%. So now 20% of the customers at Dunkin' Donuts out of the 1,200 ordered coffee. 20% of them did. Number 53, what percent of the customers did not order coffee? Well, 80%, but let's kind of work that out instead of just guessing the 80%. So again, we're solving for percent because it's what percent, and then what percent did not order coffee. So rate is equal to part divided by base, and the part, well, the 1,200 total customers minus the 240 that did means that we have about 960 that did not order coffee. 240 did order coffee, but 960 did not. So that's a part out of the 1,200 customers. And then that's going to equal a decimal amount of 0.8 on your calculator, and you'll move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and that'll equal 80% of the customers in problem 52 did not order coffee. Okay, number 54. In January 2015, gas, the price of gas was on average 2.05 per gallon. This was $1.20 cheaper than the year before. Okay, that makes that a little bit more complicated right here. Okay, my calculator just went kapooey. Just a second. Okay. So in January 2015, the price of gas was on average 2.05 per gallon. This is $1.20 cheaper than the year before in 2014. What is the price decrease? So in 2014, okay, let's see. You write that down. In 2015, the price of gas was $2.05. And that was $1.20 cheaper. So it's $3.25. So in 2014, the price is $3.25. And in 2015, the average price is $2.05, which represents $1.20 cheaper than the year before. What is the price decrease? Okay, 2014 was a year that I'm comparing this to, so 2014 is going to be my base year. And the difference between $3.25 and $2.05 is $1.20. Again, what is the price, or what is the rate of the price decrease? Okay, that's 120 divided the base of 325, and then calculate that. That equals 0.369 230 77. Okay, I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and that's going to represent a decrease of 36.92. Okay, go away. 36.92%. Decrease of 36.92%. Okay, number 55. Wally Chin. He's the owner of an Exxon Mobil station, bought a used Ford pickup truck, paying $2,000 as a down payment. He still owes 80% of the selling price. So what was the selling price of the truck? And so if we're looking for what the total amount of that truck was, we're going to be looking for the base. And the base is equal to part divided by rate. And the part is the amount of the down payment that he applied to it of $2,000. And we're going to use 20% since that's representative of the down payment. 80 plus 20 is equal to 100, and so he still owes 80% of it, and he made a down payment of $2,000, which is representative of 20%. So instead of using 80% for the rate, I'm going to use 20%, which is 0.2 after I move the decimal point 2 places to the left. $2,000 divided by 0.2 is equal to $10,000. Okay, running out of space. I can hardly write right there. So $10,000 is the selling price of the truck after he made a $2,000 down payment, and he still owes $8,000. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the summary test, the summary practice test. Okay, let's see. Convert the following decimals to percents. D to P, so you move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So it's 92.1%. Okay, number 2, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which equals 40%. And number 3, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is 1,588%. And then number 4, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is 800%. Okay, so to go from decimal to percent, D to P, move the decimal point 2 places to the right and then add the percent sign. Okay, number 5, convert the following percents to decimal. We'll just do the opposite. We'll start with a decimal point if one exists. If it doesn't, we'll start at the percent sign and move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So number 5 is equal to 0.42 hundredths as a decimal. Number 6 is move the decimal point 2 places left, which is 0.0798. Number 7 is 0.4, I'm sorry. Okay, 0.4. And let's see. Okay, and then number 8 is 1 divided by 4 to give it a decimal percent of 0.25%, and then convert that percent to a decimal, move the decimal point 2 places to the left to equal 0.0025 as a decimal. Okay, then number 9. Let's move to number 9. Convert the following fractions to percents, and then round to the nearest 10th percent. So 1 divided by 6 on your calculator is equal to It's equal to 0.167. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right to equal, go from decimal to percent is equal to 16.7%. Okay, 1 divided by 3 is 0.33333. It's going to keep on going. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right, which is equal to 33.3%. Okay, the reason it's only 0.3 is because we're rounding to the nearest 10th of a percent as illustrated right there in the question. Okay, number 11. Convert the following percents to fractions and then reduce to lowest terms as needed. So number 11, I'm going to convert to an improper fraction. 19 times 8 is 152, plus 3 is 155 over 8. And then multiply that times 1/100th. And 155 times 1 is equal to 155. 8 times 100 is 800. So that's 155 over 800, and that reduces down to 31 over 60. Okay, number 12 is the same as 6 2/10%. The reason I got that is because 2 is in the tenths location. Now I'm going to convert that to an improper fraction. So 10 times 6 is 60 plus 2 is 62 over 10 times 1/100th. That equals 62 over 1,000. I can reduce that down to 31 over 500. That's 500. Okay, number 13. Okay, an Arby's franchise has a net income before taxes of $900,000. I guess that would be a gross income before taxes, actually. The company's treasurer estimates that 40% of the company's income, 40% of the company's net income will go to federal and state taxes. So how much will the Arby's franchise have left? So if 40% goes to state and federal taxes, then they'll have 60% left. So I want to use 60% as my rate, and base is the full value of $900,000. I'm going to be solving for the part, the amount that they would have left. So part is equal to base times rate, and that would be 900,000 times, and I want to find out how much I have left, so I'm going to take that times 60%, or 0.6 after I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that would give me $540,000. That's how much the company would have left after those taxes, if they assume that 40% goes to federal and state taxes. Now I could have subtracted out, I could have calculated the 40% to find out how much was taxes, and then subtracted that out from 900,000, I would have still gotten 540,000. Number 14, Domino's projects a year-end net income of 699,000. The net income represents 30% of the annual sales. What are Domino's projected annual sales? Well, annual sales is going to be my base, and the net income after the taxes is equal to the part, and then the rate is 30% associated with the percent sign. So I'm solving for the base. Base is equal to part divided by rate, and so my part is 699 divided by the rate of 0.3 after I move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and that will equal 699 divided by 0.3. It's going to equal 2,330,000. $2,330,000. That's a 0,000. Okay, number 15. Target ordered 400 iPods. When Target received the order, 100 of those were missing. What percent of the order did Target receive? Okay, so 100 were missing, meaning 300 only arrived. We're looking for the percentage. What percent of the order did Target receive? So what percent? That's going to be my excuse me. It's going to be my rate. Rate is equal to part divided by base, and the amount that they received is 300, because 100 of those were missing, divided by the total number that they sent, which is 400. So 300 divided by 400 is equal to 0.75. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right to equal 75%. So Target ordered 400 iPods. When Target received the order, 100 of those were missing. What percent of the order did Target receive? Only 75% of that order. Okay, let's finalize this with the last four. Number 16. Matthew Song, an employee at Putnam Investments, receives an annual salary of $120,000. Today, his boss informed him that he would receive a raise of $3,200. What percent of his old salary is the $3,200 raise? Rounding to the nearest hundredth. I don't have a lot of room to work that one out, but it's asking me what percent, so I know I'm going to solve for the rate, and rate is, whoops, rate is equal to part divided by base. And the part is the increase of $3,200. And then the base is the actual salary that he had of $120,000. So 3,200 divided by 120,000 is 0.0267. I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right to give you 2.67% increase. 2.67% increase in salary. Number 17. The price of a Delta airline ticket from Los Angeles to Boston increased to $440. Okay, notice how they've worded this particular problem. It increased to $440. It's a 15% increase over what it was. What was the old fare? The old fare is going to be the base. And this is an increase type of problem, but still base is equal to part divided by rate. And the part is the amount of the increase of 440. Well, that's not the amount of the increase. That was what it increased to, was 440, and that was what it was previously is 100% of that value plus the 15% to make it $440. So I'm going to add 100 to 15% to make it 115%. So it's 115%, and move the decimal point 2 places to the left, which is 1.15. This is an increase type of problem. 440 divided by 1.15 is equal to 382.61. That's what it was originally. So the price of a Delta airline ticket from Los Angeles to Boston was once $382.61, and it increased to $440. It's a 15% increase. So it wanted to know the old fare, which is a base. Base is equal to part divided by rate. So the part is the amount that it is now, of $440, and the rate, this is the only caveat to this type of a problem, is the original rate was 100% of the value, and it increased to $440. So that's 100% plus a 15% increase. So it's a 115%. Move the decimal point 2 places left to make it 1.15. So now you take 440 divided by 1.15 and you get the old fare, what it was originally. Note the type of problem, it increased to 440. That's how you can identify that as an increased type of problem. Number 18, Scooper Grace earns a gross pay of $900 per week at Office Depot. Scooper's payroll deductions are 29%. What is his take-home pay? Well, if his deductions are 29%, then his take-home is going to be the difference between 29% and 100%, which is 71%. So his take-home pay is going to be the part. We're going to be solving for the part. Part is equal to base times rate. So that's going to be his gross salary of $900 times 0.71. After you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. And the reason that we're using 71 because we're looking for his take-home pay. And 900 times 0.71 is equal to $639. Okay. Now we could have taken it times 29%, 900 times 29%, and that would have given us the amount of his payroll deductions, and we would have subtracted that from 900, and that still would have given us $639. Number 19, Mia Wong is reviewing the total accounts receivable of Wong's department store. Credit customers paid $90,000 this month. This represents 60% of all the receivables due. What is Mia's total accounts receivable. How much should she have received? What is the total amount that she should have received? She's only received $90,000, but that's only 60%. She's still lacking 40% of this particular amount. So we're going to find out what the total amount is, which is a base. So her total accounts receivable is going to be the base, the total amount that she's supposed to earn. Base is equal to part divided by rate. And the part is the amount that she's received this month, which is $90,000. And then her rate is 60% or 0.6 after you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. 90,000 divided by 0.6 is equal to $150,000. So she's owed $150,000. She's received only 60% of it, which amounts to $90,000. Okay, this concludes the drill problems and the summary practice test for Chapter 6.